Welcome back to FastFreddyRC, and today I want to do an unboxing video of the new Tamiya FIGHTER NXGEN. Wait, this is the BBX. That's not right. Well, this is awkward. But you know, wait a minute. Maybe it's not awkward. And actually, maybe it's worth talking about this car for a moment. The BBX is a high-end off-road race car on the new DT-04 chassis. It's a new kit from Tamiya in every way. Every component on this kit's brand new, and it uses hex hardware versus the usual JIS screws that we are all used to from Tamiya. Now, the BBX is a huge step up in quality, and I believe that the DT-04 chassis itself is going to be a huge success for Tamiya as a whole going forward. But it's definitely not a beginner kit, and here are a few reasons why. Price point. It's not cheap. It's about $100 more to buy this over the FIGHTER NXGEN. What's missing from the box? Well, not only is this kit more expensive, but it doesn't even come with the usual components included in a Tamiya kit. The BBX doesn't come with a motor or an ESC, so these are things you'll still need to buy, so the price starts to really add up. Now, what's even more interesting is that the BBX is designed for a brushless system, so you'll need a brushless motor and brushless ESC to make this work, unless of course you do what I did, but even doing that, you'll need to buy a new pinion gear. Now, I decided to do a retro build using a brush motor, so you can see that actually right here. The servo requirement. So not only is the motor and the ESC not included in the kit, but you'll also have to buy a low profile servo rather than the standard servo for this kit. And low profile servos are pricey. They're way more expensive than the standard servo. Now, I bought a Tamiya TSU-06 low profile servo that cost me about $40 USD versus the standard Futaba servo I usually put in my kits, and the Futaba SU-300, for example, is only about $12.99 USD. Now, the point I'm making here is that the BBX needs a lot more money put into it to get it up and running. It's a fantastic kit, but it's going to be pretty pricey for a beginner, and the build's definitely going to be more challenging as a whole. So I guess the question is, if you're a beginner and you really wanted a BBX but realize it's just too much money to get into the hobby, what do you do? Wait, let's try this again. You get a Tamiya FIGHTER NXGEN. That's what you do. Now, listen, I'm not trying to say that Tamiya did this on purpose, or maybe I am. But the first time I saw the box art revealed, my immediate thought was that this was a BBX for the masses. The similarities of the overall design and the structure just seemed too uncanny to me. And for beginners, the bonus of getting a FIGHTER NXGEN over a BBX, it's all about what you get in the box. Because this new DT-04 chassis comes with a motor, comes with the ESC, comes with oil-filled shocks, and you only need a standard servo rather than a low-profile one. So this kit will be much easier on the pocketbook, yet you'll still get a kit that will perform. But this is where it really gets even more interesting. Let's look at the DT-03 chassis for a minute, and specifically, let's look at the Neo Fighter. The Neo Fighter came out in 2014, and it was the first kit to come on this new DT-03 chassis. The Tamiya Frog was actually the inspiration for this kit, and the recognizable no guts, no glory badging on the wing pays tribute to the Frog's part in RC history. Now, my Neo Fighter came with a torque-tuned motor, ESC, and CVA oil dampers, and honestly, I think the Neo Fighter is actually underrated, as it's a fantastic stable platform that has many upgrades available for it. It's well balanced, has a solid gearbox design, and just looks fantastic. Now, mine obviously looks a little different, as I decided to do a custom paint job based on the Tour de France. Many years ago, I was part of a bicycle team that raised money for the BC Cancer Foundation. Over that 6 years that we rode, we raised over $250,000 and covered a distance of over 1,500 kilometers. And that doesn't even include the practice rides. The Tour de France was a huge inspiration for me. So I decided to do a homage to the Tour and to the riders I followed over those years. I've even left room for more riders in case I want to add any. The point is, I really like the DT-03 chassis. And from everything I've seen so far on the new DT-04 chassis, I believe this kit's going to be, again, a huge success for Tamiya. But let's break it down so I can show you exactly why I believe the Fighter NXGEN DT-04 will be a huge success. Price point. Okay, you get the point. This kit is going to cost you a lot less than buying a BBX. But the Fighter NXGEN DT-04 is literally only a few dollars more than what it costs you to buy a Neo Fighter on the DT-03 chassis. So if you're on the fence trying to decide whether to buy a DT-03 or a DT-04, price point isn't a factor in the decision. What's in the box? Again, the DT-04 comes with an ESC, oil-filled shocks, and torque-tuned motor. So like my Neo Fighter, it comes with all the same goodies needed to build a great kit. Now, of course, minus the ball bearings, because you'll need to buy those separately, like with many of the Tamiya kits. But the DT-04 comes with more. Wheelbase. The DT-03 Neo Fighter comes with a standard wheelbase of 287 millimeters. The Fighter NXGEN is a kit that you can build with either a longer 280 millimeter wheelbase for stability or a shorter 265 millimeter wheelbase for agility. That means depending on how you plan to use the car, you can change the wheelbase for your specific use. The kit comes with everything you need to make those changes, so you almost have two kits in one. Hex wheel adapters. I bought some front and rear Louise tires for my Neo Fighter. But I didn't actually realize that the brand Louise uses hex connectors for both the front and the rear wheels, so I'm going to have to change things up on the front to be able to fit these tires on the car. But the DT-04 is hex hardware on all four wheels, so that means that it opens the doors to a lot more wheel and tire choices in the future. In fact, I might even put these Louise tires onto this Fighter NXGEN just to see how this performs on the road. Now, the BBX is hex wheel adapters on all four wheels, just an FYI, so maybe Tamiya will be using hex hardware on all future new vehicles? Guess time will tell. But if you want to see what a Fighter NXGEN looks like using the BBX wheels, Adam from Adam's Playground just did this with his Fighter NXGEN. These are shots that he did of his car in his backyard. It's uncanny just how much it looks like a BBX. And if you didn't know this was a DT-04 at first glance, I think you'd agree that you'd automatically think it was a BBX. Adam's is such a great looking kit, and what he did with it just looks incredible. Style. The BBX is my favorite new kit to come out from Tamiya in a very long time. It looks incredible. Uses the higher quality plastics, the hex hardware, the larger wheels, crazy suspension travel, and more. But, as I said before, it's not a beginner kit based on price and what you need to buy to get it up and running. The Fighter NXGEN, on the other hand, looks like what I would call a BBX made for any wallet. With the same roll cage style structure, overall look and design, even the front end has a similar skid angle to the BBX. So the kit's been designed with performance in mind. Nostalgia. Now you might wonder what I mean by this, but back in the day, my brother and I got Tyco turbo hoppers for Christmas one year. I got the red one running on the 27 megahertz, and my brother got the black one running on 49 megahertz. Now back in those days, you couldn't just pick what car you wanted, you had to make sure they ran on one of two standard frequencies, otherwise we'd be controlling each other's cars. Well, when Tamiya announced that you could decal up the Fighter NXGEN with either blue or red decals, it took me right back to these turbo hopper days, because it was almost like Tamiya were pointing out that if you were buying these kits for siblings who both wanted the same kit, you actually could do that and they could still make them a little different with just a color change. And of course, we don't use frequency crystals today, so the whole issue of crashing into each other doesn't exist anymore, unless you're trying to. Driver figure. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of sick of the standard driver figure busts that have been coming with most of the Tamiya buggies. Even on the re-releases, I think Tamiya could have changed up the driver figures so they're a little bit more detailed or more realistic looking sitting in the driver's seat. Well, for me, Tamiya have done that with the Fighter NXGEN. I know there are a lot of people who don't like this Japanese anime driver figure as they think it makes the car look a little too cartoonish. But for me, it's a change in the right direction, and I like the fact that the driver figure's head is a bit more prominent and that you now have hands that look like they're on a steering wheel and actually driving the car. I just think the whole new design is just very, very cool. Okay. So far, I've likened the Fighter NXGEN to a BBX, gone over why I love the DT-03 chassis, and shown you why I think the DT-04 chassis will be a huge Tamiya success. I think there's only one thing left. Let's get straight to the actual unboxing and see what's in here. Okay, so I've taken the plastic off just to make this easier, so let's get into the box. This is so cool. Okay. Here we go. Awesome. Ha! That is so cool. I actually love all of the hard body pieces for this. This is so, I mean, if you think about how the BBX is all the polycarbonate pieces that all have to be separately painted, it's really the same design. You've got all of the white molded hard pieces that in this case, you don't have to paint it. You can. I'm not going to. I want to go with the red look. So I think it's kind of a neat idea. So there is our Hobbywing 1060 that's coming with this DT-04. Very cool. And then right off the bat, I mean, here we go. There are our molded pieces. There's your top, the two sides, another piece on the top, I believe, a couple more side pieces. Very, very cool. It's such a neat and interesting design. And look, this is our driver figure, and I'm loving it. I mean, you've got a full-on body. So you've got a body, you've got the head, you've got the visor pieces here, you've got the gloves. You've got the steering wheel. I like it, and there's so much more to paint. And of course, there's the face. And I wondered how that was going to be molded, so that's interesting. So obviously there are decals for his eyes. So there's a little bit more interesting work to be done on this. Very, very cool. Then over here, well, let's grab this one. You can see that we've got our roll cage piece for the top. And that's obviously that's part of the locking mechanism for the battery door, I think. You've got more, this probably is the rear roll cage piece. We've got under guard pieces. Looks like on this side we've got body mount pieces. More roll cage stuff. So that's basically a bag full of roll cage bits. Very, very cool. Then here, well, there's our wheels for both the front and the rear. Very, very cool. Just plain white. I guess they can be painted too. I don't think I will right off the bat. I kind of want to do this as stock as possible at first, so we'll see. Then you can see in this bag, looks like we've got some hubs. They're actually quite large, those hubs. Looks like maybe some shock tower pieces here, some wheel, the hex wheel adapter pieces, more, those look like the steering maybe the steering arm pieces there. And it looks like we've got, these ones look like servo saver pieces, so that's interesting. Very cool. Then with this one, we've got, looks like some mounts. These look like they're probably part of the shock mount system. Other mounting system. And some other pieces. I have no idea what they are, but very, very cool. I'm liking it. And then this one, well, this is our drive cups and our drive shafts. So they're attached to a parts tree, just like the DT-03. Very cool. Interesting. And then here, well, there's our standard DT-04 gearbox. Pretty much looks like the same box. I don't know, maybe there's a slight difference, but I don't think so. I think this is standard. This is just like on my DT-03. Very, very cool. And then of course there is our chassis itself. Very cool. It's a very cool design. I like it. This is good. Now, I guess, well, let's go to this side first. Obviously, we have our tires. I mean, even with the DT-03 that I just showed you at the beginning, they're the same tires. You got the square spike tires and the rib tires for the front. So they're identical to my Neo Fighter. So that'll be the same. And then here, we've got our arms. So those are both maybe top and bottom of the rear end. Interesting. And then here we have, well, actually these are probably the ones for the rear. Those ones look more like the front, but these might be more the rear. It's hard to tell. I can't remember which ones were which, but you can see there's a couple of body mount pieces, and these look like servo mount pieces, but those are the arms. So there's quite a few pieces in here. Then we have our bag of goodies. So inside of here, let's open this up and see what we can find. Okay, so right away, here are some shock pieces. Again, these look like they're probably the longer ones. So those are probably they're probably the rear ones. Then here we go. This is parts bag A. So we've got our shocks, we've got our damper pieces, our springs. These look very similar to the DT-03, so very cool. A lot of screws and some plastic bushings, which of course I'll be replacing with a set of full ball bearings. Very cool. Interesting. Bag A, we're going to be working on the oil right away. Then, let's see, we've got in bag B. So we've got some other springs, we've got some adjusters. Looks like we have that piece, the metal piece that slips into the front, which I kind of like that design. Then you've got a lot of other bits. They're ball connector pieces, a lot of different screws and step screws, some more what do you call them, my mind's gone blank, but and look, there's even a ball bearing here. Now that is interesting. So there are a couple of ball bearings included in the kit. Now I'm going to guess they're to do with the steering, but it's interesting that they're including ball bearings versus the brass bushings. Very, very cool. So that's bag B. Then going further, let's see, we've got a wrench here, which will be for the steering, I'm sure. We've got our box wrench, some more adjusters again, and of course some more ball connectors and some screws, etc. And then in this bag, this is bag C. What are we looking at here? We've got screws, we've got ball connectors, we've got double-sided tape, we've got sponge tape. We've got this piece here, which is for the on-off switch. And again, it is a little frustrating because these pieces, that's great if you have a Tamiya speed controller, but almost all kits don't, you know, their deal is with Hobbywing now, so these don't apply. So we're going to probably have to figure out a new place to put the on-off switch, but we'll see as we go. Then we have these pieces here. They are for building our shocks, so we'll get to those ones later. And we've got another bag. Yep, same thing. We've got more shock pieces, either for the front or the rear. And in here, well, there you go. And I was right. Those ones are probably for the back, because here are the smaller ones. So those ones will be for the front oil-filled shocks. And then, of course, there's our gears for our DT-02 transmission. Very cool. So we'll be probably building the, I'll bet you we'll be building the differential first again with this car, but it's only a guess. We'll see when I get further into this. And then we have our torque tuned motor, which is included in the Fighter NXGEN. So very, very cool. And lastly, in this bag, what do we got? We've got our servo saver pieces. Very cool. And that's pretty standard there. So that's awesome. Now I'll put that away, but not right now. I'll just leave that pile there. Let's take a look at what else we've got. We've got obviously some warning instructions. We've got our antenna pipe. Don't need to worry about that right now. But here are the decals. Very, very cool. So again, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I am going to go with the red look. My favorite color is red, so I've got to go red with this. But again, I just think this is too cool, because if you wanted to, well, I don't know, you're buying a kit, you both want it, you want to race with a friend, you can do it and have a different color, so you can distinguish one from the other. So I do think this whole color idea is very cool, and I feel like that's why they did it. They knew people would be buying these as a sort of like a pair, and gives the people an option to race with a different color. But I like this. These stickers are very, very cool. And then lastly, what do we have? We have our Fighter NXGEN instruction manual. Very, very cool. Love it. So, and you know, out of curiosity, am I right? Yep, I'm pretty much right. We're going to be building the differential gear right off the bat. But this is very, very cool. And once again, I mean, the instructions in Tamiya kits are absolutely fabulous. And I think you'll really end up enjoying... Ooh, what do we got here? Correction. So there is an issue with this one. They've actually ended up having to add an extra instruction to show you how to build it. Interesting. Well, that does occasionally happen, but I'm kind of surprised. But anyways, this is so awesome. It's actually quite detailed in terms of the instructions. I mean, we're having to go right up to, what, 50, 52? There are a lot of instruction steps for this. 54, 55. What are we going to go for? Yep, 55. So there are 55 steps in this kit. Wow. That is just too cool. Well, that's awesome. Like, that is the unboxing for the Tamiya Fighter NXGEN. I am planning on getting started on this quite soon. So if you are interested in following along, do subscribe, hit that notification button. And if you are interested in supporting this channel, you like what I'm doing here, feel free to think about becoming a member, because what I'm going to be doing is, if you become a member, a Fastlane Pass member, I will basically be making as many steps as I can, uploading them all, and the ones that are available will be available to Fastlane Pass members first, before they go live for the public. So be sure to become a member if you're wanting to build along with me with these kits. So that's awesome. So until next time, we'll see you in another video.